Hurricane Beryl is close to Category 5 strength as its forecast track will take it close to Jamaica. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. It is good to see you on this late Tuesday evening. Coming up, I've got all the newest information on Major Hurricane Beryl. We'll talk about the new warnings that are in place for the Caribbean, including a hurricane warning that is now in effect for Jamaica. As we get started here, of course, we want to recap what happened in the Windward Islands this morning. Unfortunately, utter devastation for portions of that area. Appreciate you joining me for the 8 hours of coverage here at Meteo Mundo earlier today. A lot of pictures and videos sent into the channel. This is one we got after the live stream, but unfortunately, it is an all too common sight. Across the Windward Islands, you see a home there in St. Vincent that no longer has a roof. There is significant damage through the Windward Islands, and our thoughts are obviously with our friends there as they begin the cleanup efforts. Again, I appreciate you joining me earlier today, and I appreciate you sending in those pictures and videos to help tell the story. I have to say this, even though Beryl continues to move away, we continue to have some impacts through the Lesser Antilles. There have still been some winds well behind Beryl of 30, 40, and even 50 miles an hour. And these outer feeder bands on the northeast side have worked their way well into the Lesser Antilles here, where again, from time to time, we've had 30, 40, and even close to some 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So you can see St. Croix had a 44, and that wasn't really that long ago. So good heavy downpours, very blustery conditions. It's not very consistent, but the wind gusts, again, are kicking up over 40 miles an hour. And this kind of squally weather will continue for the Leeward Islands, portions of the Lesser Antilles, into the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as we go overnight and into Wednesday. And then it's all going to be about the potential track and strength of Beryl as it gets deeper into the Central Caribbean. For my friends in the ABC Islands, you guys are okay. Beryl will stay far enough north where you're not going to have direct impacts. Could get some passing showers, some very breezy conditions there, and rough surf and sea conditions. But if we just look at Beryl, winds right now are 155 miles an hour. That is as of the 8 p.m. advisory on this Monday. It is a monster hurricane teetering on Category 5 strength. Just has to get to 157, all right? So it's not going to be shocking if at least for a brief time, Beryl becomes Cat 5. Hopefully it's leveled out in intensity, and there's a possibility we might be going another eyewall replacement cycle, so maybe that's the case. But this is a very intense storm, and thankfully, again, it's out in the open waters of the Eastern Caribbean. Pressure has plummeted to 938 millibars. It's still moving quickly west-northwest at 21, now located 910 miles to the east-southeast of Jamaica. So we have Beryl, but if you didn't know, we had Tropical Storm Chris develop late yesterday evening, lasting off about 6 to 9 hours in the Southwest Gulf and has moved inland. So we've actually wiped out the C-named storm. So the next one that develops, that is going to be Debbie. Let's take a look at the track from the Hurricane Center on Beryl. Now, there's a couple of things that I need to note here. First of all right, we have ourselves, again, a near Category 5 hurricane. The still general trend from the models is for Beryl to encounter wind shear and slowly begin to lose strength. But the question is, when does that begin and how quickly does that occur? And I have to be very frank with you, there's not a lot of agreement with the models. So we really have to prepare for what could be some significant hurricane impacts to Jamaica if Beryl gets closer. We do expect there to be some weakening, but the official track from the Hurricane Center right now has it remaining a Category 4 as it's south of the Hispaniola coast with winds of 140 miles an hour. And then as we get into Wednesday, winds of 125 as a Category 3 southeast of Jamaica, and then the eye passing south of Jamaica as, again, it loses some strength, but still a Cat 2 as we get into Wednesday evening. I want to be very clear. There is not an extreme confidence in this track or strength, but hurricane conditions are likely in Jamaica through the day on Wednesday with some tropical storm conditions beginning to move in very late on Tuesday. That's why the hurricane warning is in place. We do have a tropical storm warning right now for the coastline of Haiti, the southern coastline of Haiti, and portions of the Dominican Republic. I do not expect, based on this track, that you are going to get the most significant impacts from Beryl, but tropical storm conditions are possible, especially along the southern coastline. And along with that, obviously, some increased surf and sea conditions and swells as well. Now, if Beryl holds together, and that is a bit of an if, the official forecast takes it into the northwest Caribbean, across the Yucatan, and into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Again, at this point in time, friends, the farther we go out in time, the more divergence there is in the model and the less confidence there is. Again, very confident of what we saw in the Windward Islands that looked to be locked in several days in advance. As we get beyond Tuesday evening, there becomes much more of a spread in the models. So that is the interactive map. This is the static map from the Hurricane Center. And again, we can look at those time frames. So moving south of the Dominican Republic and Haiti throughout the day tomorrow, it begins to approach Jamaica as we come into the daylight hours of Wednesday. You notice that that dot there just south of Jamaica, 2 p.m. on Wednesday. So beginning early in the day and then throughout the day on Tuesday, the impacts south of the Cayman Islands early on Thursday through Thursday afternoon, and potentially into the Yucatan as we get into our early Friday afternoon, southwest Gulf of Mexico on Saturday. This more than likely will change in some way, shape, or form. Again, beyond about this point, there's not a ton of confidence in the models. European model is slightly farther off towards the south, but you can really not even see Jamaica here. And that's because a lot of the ensemble products of the European model do have this very close to the island. That's why there is a hurricane warning. And again, farther in time, we'll see if additional watches and warnings are going to be placed for areas west of Jamaica. Again, it's a timing issue. The hurricane warnings are issued when hurricane conditions are likely within a 48-hour time period. Friends, as we get into the models, I appreciate you liking this video. I appreciate all the new subscribers here to Meteo Mundo. If you're not a subscriber, you want the latest updates on Beryl, the tropics, and the daily forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you found your home here at Meteo Mundo. Anyone who you think will get something out of these videos, especially our friends in Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean, make sure you share this video with them. And I appreciate all of those who have become members of the channel and have supported the channel through the super thanks, PayPal, Venmo, everything that you see in the descriptions below. Okay, so there's no reason to show you the GFS model because it's completely out to lunch. So I'm going to show you the HAFS model of Beryl. Okay, now again, this is a floater, which means that the storm stays in the center. If you look at the top of your screen, there's Haiti. Here it comes approaching Jamaica as we go through our Wednesday. And you can see that it brushes the southern coastline of Jamaica on the HAFS model, begins to lose some strength, but still is able to push into the Yucatan as a hurricane as we get into our Friday morning and then emerge into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. All right. I'm going to let this loop one more time. I'm going to come back on screen. Again, powerful hurricane in the eastern Caribbean. Winds near Category 5 strength. Only a slow erosion of those winds are expected on the HAFS model. Hurricane impacts on the HAFS model for Jamaica. Again, brushing with some hurricane impacts potentially for the Cayman Islands, and then still holding hurricane strength as it moves closer to the Yucatan. Again, I will say this many times, there's not a lot of agreement in the models with the strength and the track so far. Those details have to be borne out. If I take a snapshot of the HAFS model at Wednesday at 10 a.m., you can see that the model has Beryl south and east of Kingston, but hurricane conditions for the islands with maximum winds at the center of circulation of 140 miles an hour. It's still Category 4 hurricane, guys, okay? We hope that the wind shear is going to be more prominent in the Caribbean to knock Beryl down faster. But again, it's a 155 mile an hour hurricane as of this recording. I hope it doesn't go any higher, but that is a monster hurricane to see what these wind shear is going to end up doing. So now you're looking at your spaghetti plot models as far as intensity. And the area in yellow, by the way, I'll just pop on real quick. The area in yellow is the time frame that it would be moving closest to Jamaica. So when we look at that, we have some of the models at Cat 4, a fair amount of the models at Cat 3 to Cat 2, and really nothing below category 2. Okay, so again, that's throughout the day on Wednesday as it moves into or near Jamaica. Obviously, there's still forecasted shear that could become a little bit more intense beyond that. And the general model trend is for Beryl to weaken throughout the week as it progresses west across the Caribbean. But there's not a lot of agreement or consistency in the models how quickly that happens, especially again when you're starting off with a hurricane of 155 miles an hour. So the messaging from the National Hurricane Center is this. For Jamaica, hurricane force winds, hurricane conditions are likely for the island, okay? Please check in with your local government and your local officials for any local messaging. Obviously, I'll keep you guys up to date. But again, as you prepare for Beryl to be moving in on Wednesday, check in with that local official and those local messages. Storm surge of 2 to 4 feet, rainfall totals of 3 to 6 inches with locally higher amounts. Beryl will continue to move in that 20 mile per hour range, so it's not going to generally be slowing up. And although the rain could be somewhat significant, it's not going to be as significant if Beryl was a slower moving storm. Obviously, with this impacts comes the potential for power outages, landslides, and mudslides as well. So there's a few things we can look at here. And again, no reason to show you the GFS because it just doesn't have a good handle on what's happening right now. Again, we can see the interactive map from the Hurricane Center. We can take a look at the total precipitation here on this map. I think we do have a good handle for this. So as I zoom into this area, and again, we're going to look at other areas too, guys, but obviously with this hurricane warning, I want to take a second and talk about our friends in Jamaica. When we look at this, we can see that across the island, we do have that 6-7 inches of rain on the eastern side towards Kingston right now. We have 6-7 inches of rain towards Portmore and Spanish Town, Old Harbor. Again, we would anticipate there being slightly lower amounts as you get to the western side of the island, but still in that 3 to 4, 5-inch range. And again, if the center of circulation is south, that means all of the water is going to be coming from the east and pushing in and potentially here, of course, towards the port as well. So that could be pretty bad with the way that the orientation of the shoreline is there in the Kingston area, Portmore area. So we'll be monitoring that, but extremely heavy rainfall is likely. Now back over to our friends in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Again, it's more of a brush, but we could have tropical storm conditions tomorrow that I'll be monitoring. Some pockets of heavier rainfall, some stronger winds, but again, as long as Beryl stays far enough south as the track shows, we're not going to have the most direct impacts there. Then down the road, again, we'll be keeping an eye out for our friends in the Cayman Islands and eventually back into portions of the Yucatan in Central America. That being said, with Beryl moving fast, no one area has a crazy amount of rain. I am going to show the GFS model as far as the rain because I do want to, of course, cover other areas. But again, as of note here, I don't expect this to bear out to what we're really going to end up seeing with Beryl. It's just too darn weak on the GFS model. It does hold together in some fashion in the same track, but again, it just doesn't have a good handle on what Beryl's going to end up becoming. Really, the reason why I wanted to show the GFS model is because, again, I wanted to encompass everyone. Obviously, our friends in the Bahamas have been quieter, and I don't expect a lot of rain over the next 5 days. We'll see on the heels of Beryl what Invest 96L does. So this is Invest 96L, which again is now a lower chance of development, but it is still expected to come back into some of the same areas here on our Wednesday that had all of the damage and destruction from Beryl. So we could have another big swath of tropical downpours here, especially from Grenada north towards St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica. Some of the models even ride this a little bit farther north as well. If I put on the forecast models here, you can see that there's one kind of consensus down here, Martinique south towards St. Vincent, and then there's a second cluster of the models that are farther north that take it closer to Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, and Anguilla in the US and British Virgin Islands. And we'll just have to see if this thing wants to try and ramp up a little bit. But the models have been trending weaker. That being said, another slug of tropical moisture is likely for these areas behind Beryl, but all eyes are going to be on Beryl. Again, your spaghetti plots with Beryl are very much in line with what the Hurricane Center says. Is there an opportunity that Beryl still has a circulation in the southwest Gulf of Mexico and then moves up the western periphery of the Gulf? The answer is yes, but we're still too far out to really even get into that. Again, considering that we just have a much lower confidence on what might be happening here with Beryl as it gets close to and beyond Jamaica. But again, the GFS model is slightly farther north, but obviously brings Beryl right over Jamaica as well. So my friends in Jamaica, again, hurricane warning in effect for you right now. You need to be taking preparations. Make sure you're checking in with local government and local officials. But a hurricane warning simply means hurricane conditions are expected in that area within 48 hours. And based on the track that we have from the Hurricane Center on Beryl, that looks to be the case. Obviously, I'm going to keep you guys up to date here at Meteo Mundo. When we need to go live, we'll go live. When we need to bring up the 24/7 live stream, we'll bring back the 24/7 live stream as well. We know you got you covered. You can find us across all of social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. Send me those pictures and videos at mymeteamundo@gmail.com. I'll continue to provide consistent updates. And again, we'll talk more about on our Tuesday, our coverage plans, but our thoughts again are with our friends in the Windward Islands. And now we look ahead to the potential impacts for other areas of the Caribbean. I've got you covered here, and I will see you soon, friends, right here at Meteo Mundo.